followed by Phil Hensley, Chris Estevez, Amy Torres, and Rania Mustafa.
Great. Ms. Patel?
Yes, thank you. Hello, commissioners. Actually, Philip Hensley, my colleague, will start first, but we are waiting for, thank you so much. Rashard has the map up. We hope everyone can see it, and we'll try to describe it as we go. Philip?
Rashard, can you just enlarge that just a little bit?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I want to thank first OLS and the Commission for allowing us to present this map in this way at this time. We greatly appreciate that. Good afternoon. My name is Philip Hensley, and I'm here on behalf of the League of Women Voters of New Jersey and the Fair Districts New Jersey Coalition to present testimony on this legislative map we are submitting. I will describe the principles that guided the creation of this map, the process that produced it, and provide a brief overview of some of the specific districts that were drawn, and then Henel will describe the remaining districts. So the Fair Districts Coalition has consistently advocated for three primary principles that we believe should govern redistricting. The first is racial equity. We believe in reinforcing the principles of the Voting Rights Act and ensuring that New Jersey's communities of color have an equal opportunity to participate in the political process. Second, we believe that redistricting should preserve communities of interest to the greatest extent possible. And third, we believe district plans should not be drawn solely to favor or disfavor a political party or candidate for office. So those principles are what guided us in designing this map. But we also engaged in extensive outreach with individuals and local organizations throughout the state to identify communities of interest. The Fair Districts New Jersey Coalition and our partners held community mapping sessions across the state, where we asked New Jerseyans to define and map their own communities. These mapping sessions produced over 50 community of interest maps, and we submit these community of interest maps to the Commission in addition and alongside our own proposed legislative map. In addition to the map-making criteria I've described, Fair Districts New Jersey has also consistently called for a transparent process that incorporates significant public input. So we would especially like to thank and acknowledge Judge Karchman and all the commissioners for the announcement today that 2 maps will be released February 7th. We hope the Commission will schedule additional hearings and opportunities for the public to comment following the release of those maps. And we would also like to urge the Commission to ensure that those maps are released in convenient electronic formats, so shape files, to facilitate analysis by outside experts, because we believe that analysis will be invaluable both to the public in understanding the maps you're proposing and to the Commission itself. So before I get to the map, one last thing, I would like to talk about some of the significant demographic changes we've seen in New Jersey and how they informed this map. Census results show that New Jersey is becoming more racially and ethnically diverse. Latino populations grew by 29% and Asian populations grew by 44%. Overall, New Jersey was found to be 52% non-Hispanic white and 48% Hispanic, Black, Asian, Native American, Pacific Islander. We know that due to systemic census undercounts, New Jersey's communities of color are in reality an even larger share of the population than 48%, likely 50% or more. So accordingly, this map creates 20 majority people of color districts out of 40, which is 5 more than the current map. So I'm going to now briefly outline the map and some of the individual districts starting in South and Central Jersey. My colleague Henel Patel from the Institute for Social Justice will provide an overview of the remaining districts, and additional members of our coalition, Chris Estevez of Latino Action Network, Amy Torres from the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice, and Rania Mustafa with the Palestinian American Community Center will speak in greater detail about specific districts as well as about the map more generally. So given constraints of time, I won't speak about every single district, but starting in South Jersey, you see in green there the 2nd district. So this is the first new majority people of color district in our map. Currently, there are none in all of South Jersey. And this reflects the significant growth of both the Latino and Asian populations in the area, and especially in the greater Atlantic City area. This district is entirely within Atlantic County. And in addition, and in accordance with testimony before this commission and our community mapping sessions, Galloway and Port Republic are included in the 2nd district, as these towns share an important community of interest with Atlantic City. I'd like to speak about District 3. It's there in purple, in Salem, Gloucester, and Cumberland counties. Community outreach indicated the towns of Vineland, Millville, and Bridgeton, which have substantial and growing Hispanic population, constitute a community of interest and should be kept together in one district, which this district achieves. So these communities are also combined with Fairfield Township and Salem City, which both have substantial Black populations. I'd also like to note that the Nanticoke-Lenni-Lenape state designated tribal statistical area includes both Fairfield Township and Bridgeton. And so keeping those towns together in one district is important in order to not divide the Native American community in this part of the state. Next, I'd like to talk about the 4th district, that's in red. We identified a community of interest in Winslow Township, which also covers nearby areas in Chislehurst and Monroe Township, and those were important to keep together in this district. The next district is in yellow, that's the 5th district, and it is our second majority people of color district in South Jersey. Community mapping sessions and feedback from partners in Camden County identified Camden, Pennsauken, and Merchantville as an important community of interest. And it is for that reason that we drew them together in this 5th district. Moving a little bit further north now, in peach color is the 30th district, which is centered on Lakewood. And I'd like to acknowledge the significant growth of Lakewood. It's worth highlighting. And so we opted for a least change map that keeps Lakewood with Howell and Wall townships while shedding some shore towns for equal population purposes. Relevant to that decision, just north of the 30th district is the 11th district, which we've heard about already. In green, that district centered on Neptune, Asbury, takes in some additional shore towns in our map, including Belmar, which we identified from our community mapping sessions and with the input of the Latino Coalition as part of the growing Latino community of interest in this part of Monmouth County, including not only Long Branch, Asbury Park, but also Belmar, Red Bank, and of course, Freehold Borough. You've already heard about the importance of Neptune, Neptune City, and Asbury Park. Those also were identified through our community outreach sessions and should be kept together in this district. And that's what we do in this 11th district. Next district I'd like to talk about in that brownish olive color is the 14th district, extending from Hamilton Township to Monroe Township. It keeps Cranberry, Robbinsville, and East Windsor together. And these 3 towns have significant and growing AAPI populations. Via community mapping sessions held with the assistance of SALDEF, the Sikh American Legal Defense and Education Fund, we identified the importance of keeping those 3 towns together. Just north of the 14th district is the 15th district in orange. And with multiple community mapping sessions, with multiple organizations, the importance of a community of interest between the towns of Trenton, Ewing, and Lawrence was very apparent. So the 15th district keeps Trenton, Ewing, and Lawrence together while adding additional townships for population purposes. The next door 16th district in green, along with the community mapping sessions I just discussed in other parts of Mercer County, the 16th district has a significant and growing Asian and Asian American population. In particular, we identified West Windsor and Plainsboro as constituting a community of interest, and we kept those towns together, along with towns north of it. This district has a 31.4% Asian and Asian American population, an Asian influence district, reflective of the growth of that community in this part of the state. Just next door, and that gray-blue color is the 17th district. That's Piscataway, New Brunswick, and nearby towns. A community mapping session with the New Brunswick NAACP provided us with a community of interest map, the importance of keeping New Brunswick and North Brunswick together, as well as the existing college community of interest between Piscataway and New Brunswick. So those are kept together in this 17th district. Finally, I'd like to talk about the 18th district in yellow. This is the first of 2 Asian plurality districts in this map. So currently in New Jersey, there is not a single AAPI majority or plurality district in New Jersey, even though Asian Americans constitute the fastest growing population in this state. This district combines the community of interest that was identified in Edison and Metuchen with South Brunswick to draw the first API plurality district, over 40% Asian American, nearly 44%, with the possibility of growing into a majority Asian district over the course of the decade. With that, I'll like to turn it over to my colleague, and I want to thank again the commissioners and OLS staff for allowing us to present this map today.
Thank you, Philip. Hello, everyone. My name is Henel Patel. I am the director of the Democracy and Justice Program at the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice. I want to echo some of the comments Philip made. We thank you, thank the commission for agreeing to release your maps on February 7th. We think that's tremendous for public participation. I will just say, so the Institute, we are a social justice legal advocacy organization. I've testified before you before, so I won't repeat much of that, except to say we do believe and know that redistricting is about power, which is why we've been centering this on communities throughout the state. Today's map, I wanted to highlight, before we get into the rest of this, I wanted to mention that the map is supported by a number of our partners, the League of Women Voters, obviously, Latino Action Network, New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice, Palestinian American Community Center, Fair Share Housing Center, the New Jersey NAACP, Salvation and Social Justice, SALDEF, the Sikh American Legal Defense Fund, and the New Jersey League of Conservation Voters all support this map, as well as the Latino Coalition of New Jersey. This map, broad level, has, as Philip mentioned, 20 majority people of color districts, which we think is reflects the population of New Jersey that now in the last 10 years was wherein the entirety of the population growth came from people of color. This map also has 3 majority Black districts, voting age population Black districts. The current map only has 1. We think that better reflects 15% of the population that is the Black population, 4 majority Hispanic districts, and an additional 2 plurality districts and 2 Asian plurality districts. This map also crucially follows all the criteria that Judge Commissioner Karchman laid out last month, including that all the districts are within the 2.5% deviation, minimizes pitting incumbents against each other. Although we did not prioritize continuity of representation over the other priorities. The rest were clearly more important for us and based on the criteria laid out by Judge Karchman. So I will go into some of the rest of these districts now in North Jersey. The first being District 20. Which is our first drawn majority Hispanic district that accounts for the growth in the Latino community throughout Northeast New Jersey, well into Union County. So this district combines Elizabeth, Linden, Carteret, and becomes a majority Hispanic district. Moving a little bit to the west, District 22 includes the community of interest of Plainfield and North Plainfield, and we also included South Plainfield there, and it remains a majority people of color district. District 21 has a number of the suburban areas, Westfield, Cranford, those areas in that district. I think it makes sense now to head a little west, and we'll come back around in a clockwise fashion to Northeast New Jersey. District 23 includes a lot of our rural areas. Notably, it includes all of Warren County in this district. We know we had some testimony in the past to try to maintain that district does. Moving up, District 24 includes a lot of Sussex County and more of the rural areas there. Our District 26 includes a lot of the Latino communities that we heard testimony for today: Dover, Mine Hill, Wharton, Roxbury, all of these towns, as well as Morristown, and combines them together into this district here in 26. Our District 25 actually goes from Union up into capturing a lot of the, and it is another majority people of color district. It has Parsippany, East Hanover, and Livingston to acknowledge the growing Asian American community in this area and keeping those communities together so that they have influence in this district. So they are about 24% of the population in this district. I'll move slightly up and say District 40 now is our community up here. This district and District 35 actually acknowledges the growing Arab community that you've heard testimony for and that we've also listened to and acknowledged with communities of interest. So District 40 includes Wayne and Pompton Lakes, while District 35 has Patterson and the communities around that, so that we keep these area communities together when possible, because as they've said, they are not in the data themselves, so we have to listen to them. District 35 is the, in addition to the area community, is a majority Hispanic district, as is currently. District 35 is a majority Hispanic area. The Latino community is significant here and growing, and this community puts these areas together with Patterson, Haledon, North Haledon, Woodland Park, in those areas. District 39 is some of the Bergen County areas in this district. I should also mention District 40 includes a lot of the areas of the Ramapo Lenape tribe in Ringwood and Mawa. We also have a community of interest map from them that we've submitted to the commission. Moving a little down, I'll mention 37 and then kind of circle into Essex County and Hudson County. 39, as I said, is around Bergen County. 37 combines many of the towns. It includes Englewood and Teaneck, which is a community of interest, and combines a number of the communities with growing Asian populations. This district is over 30% Asian, so it includes an influence district for that community. I will mention District 36 and 38 now. 30, both are majority people of color districts. 38 includes a number of the diverse areas in Lower Bergen County and Passaic County. 36 includes both Clifton and Passaic, which is a community of interest that share a lot of the same demographics and a lot of the same interests in community there. So that's District 33, which is about 45% Hispanic. It is a Hispanic plurality district and will likely go into a Latino majority district in the next 10 years. Now we'll move a little south to Essex County, and what we've done here, which we're really proud of, is we're able to draw pretty easily in multiple ways 3 majority Black districts to really reflect the existing and also growing Black population in Essex County. So District 27 that we have goes from Hillside up and includes a number of the West Orange all the way up, and includes and captures Roseland. District 34 goes into Newark, mostly just in the central ward, includes Montclair, East Orange, and those communities. If you can see when Rashad goes over them, you can see the towns on the right side, the towns pop up. So it's Bloomfield, Cedar Grove, Montclair. District 28 is the 3rd majority Black district. When I say majority Black, I mentioned they're majority by voting age population. Same thing for all the Hispanic majority districts I've mentioned. 28 includes much of the West. It includes all of the West Ward of Newark, much of the South Ward, and into Bayonne. And then District 29 is a additional new majority Hispanic district. I should mention the current map only has 2, District 32 and 35. We've drawn additional ones. District 29 has the growing Latino population in Newark and other parts of Essex County and Hudson County. So Kearney, Belleville are in this district as well. Then finally, Hudson County, my home county, includes District 31, which is just truly, I think District 31 kind of reflects the diversity of Jersey City in many ways. It is an Asian plurality district. By a hair, it's 28% Asian, which kind of reflects what Jersey City is now too, by a hair, an Asian plurality city. And it's a district that includes Jersey City, goes into Secaucus. District 33 is our final Hispanic plurality district. It includes parts of Jersey, the rest of Jersey City, Union City, Hoboken, that area. And then finally, District 32, the map that is currently the district that is currently a majority Hispanic district, was drawn 10 years ago to be a majority Hispanic district and should remain one now, is that reflects the growing and Latino community in North Hudson, which has been here for decades and continues to thrive. So this includes the towns of North Bergen, West New York, all around the Bergen Line Avenue corridor, and reflects that community of interest and goes into this area. So these are This basically covers our map. We thank you for your time. I will turn it over to my colleague, Chris Estevez, then Amy Torres, and then Rania. I know Madam Secretary can call on them too, but they will talk about specific areas in the map. Thank you.
Do I go now? Thank you. I'm Christian Estevez. I'm the president of Latino Action Network. Thank you, Judge Karchman and all the honorable members of the commission. As we've said it before, and I'm not going to, try not to be repetitive, but as Latino Action Network, I have testified in the past, and other members have testified. Latinos, as you know, make up almost 21% of the state population now. Yet we continue to be, highly underrepresented in the state legislature, making up only 7% of the Senate and only 8% of the state assembly. When we entered into the whole redistricting process, the Latino community was very dismayed that there was no Latino representation on the commission, and we are pleased to see that this omission has been remedied by the recent appointment of Laura Matos to the commission. And while this is definitely a step in the right direction, now the real work begins of making sure that this process results in a map that truly represents the great diversity of our state. As many of others have already testified, the 2020 census shows that communities of color now make up almost half of the state's population. The Latino Action Network is proud to be part of the presentation of this Fair District Unity map that demonstrates how it is completely possible to draw a legislative map where half of the districts are made up of people of color as the majority, in line with the changing demographics of the state. I can't stress enough how important it is for Latinos, for us to do everything we can to create more opportunities for Latinas to run for office, and be able to, and for Latinos to have a voice in Trenton, commensurate with our size as a part of the population. Henel and Philip did a great job of running through all the districts. I will focus on speaking about where a lot of the Latino growth happened in basically in the Bergen and Passaic County area, and this is really where we need to see some changes, and that's probably why you see a lot of changes in relation to the existing map. We have a situation in part of Passaic County and in Southern Bergen County where Latinos are a growing part of the population, yet we have no Latino representation. And that's why in this map, we put together the city of Passaic and the city of Clifton as a community of interest there. And, in other parts of the state, as has been mentioned, we sought to increase the Latino voice in places like in Monmouth County, where we tried to keep the Latino community together in order to increase our community's ability to have influence there with the elected officials. So, keeping towns like Red Bank and Belmar, Asbury, Freehold, and Long Branch together are very important to our community. Philip mentioned earlier about in South Jersey, keeping Bridgeton, Millville, and Vineland together. And because in the current map, some of those towns are separated. So basically, and you've already heard about Plainfield and North Plainfield. I mean, we can go on and on. There's so many places where we need to make adjustments to increase Latino representation. It's too numerous to say at this moment, but I will say that we really implore the commission to make every effort to create increased opportunities for Latino representation, because our community is growing. It's the largest growing population in the state. And I would say that the reason why we didn't go backwards in the state in terms of population growth is because of Latino and Asian community. And we ask that the commission make every effort to draw districts in ways that will increase our ability to represent representatives of our choosing to go represent our interest in Trenton. Thank you for your time. I think I pass it over to my colleague, Amy Torres.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Judge Karchman and the Commission for the opportunity to testify today. The New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice is a statewide coalition that fights for policies that empower and protect immigrant New Jerseyans. And before I get to my testimony, I just want to say how thrilled we are that the Commission is making history by releasing their versions of the maps in advance. And as much as others have already noted this, it bears repeating that this decision is a historic one. It's one that's long overdue for the state and sets a really important precedence for how the state works with the public to involve us and work in transparency as we go through this mapping process together. It's a credit to both the advocacy community that came together to ask for this and the commission to decide to release the maps in advance for consideration. But again, in that spirit of precedence and transparency, it's important that the second part of the public's ask, which is that there's an opportunity for public comment after that release, is also honored. So we look forward to working with you on that and are hopeful that we get the opportunity to provide feedback, and very excited to see your versions of the maps. So people unfamiliar with our state's population often wonder why an immigrant justice coalition would be at the table for redistricting. So it's important first for me to lay out some of the data on the table about who immigrants are in New Jersey and indeed who New Jersey is as a state. New Jersey is more diverse than we've ever been, effectively a state that is half people of color. Nearly 1 in 4 New Jerseyans is foreign born, a majority of which are naturalized citizens and eligible voters, so 17% of the state's voting age citizens. 40% of New Jersey's children belong to an immigrant family and represent the growing diversity in native-born but second-generation populations. But these numbers alone don't speak to the racial and ethnic diversity within the immigrant community. New Jersey is one of the most ethnically diverse states in the nation, with some of our counties also outranking all other counties in the nation in our ethnic diversity. The ethnic and racial groups that are growing the fastest tend to see the least representation in public office and in responsive public policy, and historically have been divided across district lines. And I want to acknowledge that many of the Alliance's member organizations are testifying either today or have testified in past hearings, and their communities of interest are something that have been a part of consideration in this unity map that we're presenting. Importantly, Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, one of the fastest growing racial groups nationwide, is over 10% of the state's population now, and also one of the fastest growing here, up 30% over the last 10 years. That's why they're included as 2 plurality districts in our unity map. We also know that subgroups within the larger Asian American and Pacific Islander bucket outpace other foreign-born peers in eligibility for naturalization, a trend that we can expect to accelerate now that naturalization and citizenship ceremonies are beginning to open up again. There was a pause during the pandemic, and as we see federal attempts to clear application backlogs for naturalization. As my colleagues Henel, Philip, and Chris mentioned, this map prioritizes how to draw communities together with an emphasis on community over incumbency. This map draws half of the districts as people of color majority, coalition, or plurality districts, because again, our priority is this effort for community over incumbency. And we recognize that there are many ways to get to this number where people of color, again, half of the state are represented by half of the map. Now it might seem reductive to point out that the percentage of legislators of color in New Jersey right now is lower than the state's overall population, but more importantly, we as advocates who are in the racial, social, economic, and immigrant justice movement too often see that lawmakers view immigration policy priorities as niche issues that often flatten the identity and diversity of experiences that I just spoke to. So immigrant New Jerseyans outpace native-born peers in their rates of aging, in disparities in home ownership, in insurance coverage, and other key factors, making all of the decisions that are before the legislature an immigrant priority issue or a foreign-born issue. When we talk about advancing equity, advancing inclusion, mitigating the historic legacies of segregation on the state, it's really important that the legislature is centering communities of interest in their public policy priorities as well, which is why we're really pleased to be a part of this effort in the map. It has been a very fruitful and humbling conversation alongside of our colleagues, and we hope that this commission will take as much intent and care in your drafting of your own maps as this coalition did. I will now pass it over to my colleague Rania, and I'm also available for questions after her testimony.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for the opportunity to testify again today. And special thank you to the Commission for giving the Fair District Committee the opportunity to present this map. My name is Rania Mustafa. I'm here on behalf of my community and as the Executive Director of the Palestinian American Community Center, or PAC for short. I'm also here to endorse the unity map that Fair Districts New Jersey just presented. I think it is the closest at the moment to representing a racially equitable map that captures the diversity that New Jersey embodies. Our New Jersey community originates from culturally, geographically, and religiously diverse backgrounds, embodying many experiences and narratives that cannot be distilled into a single experience or partisan lines. More specifically, though we have a long journey ahead, I think this map is heading in the right direction of building political power for the Arab American community in New Jersey. To give some context, I was born and raised in Paterson, the epicenter of Arabs in New Jersey, and I have lived within the same 1 mile radius for most of my life. And in the last 8 years, I have seen firsthand the effect that PAC has had on our community. PAC has quickly become a staple and a pillar in educating and providing critical services for community needs. We have worked with various Arab American community leaders throughout the state to map Arab American community pockets. New Jersey is home to one of the most diverse Arab and Middle Eastern and North African communities in the country. Specifically, New Jersey has the second largest community of Palestinians in the United States. At least 3.5 million Arab Americans live in this country, yet we are not represented in the census data as unique racial and ethnic categories, and we are still categorized under the white race. The population who identified as Arab speaking in the US Census grew more than 42% between 2000 and 2017. The number of New Jerseyans who claim an Arab ancestry has more than doubled since the census first measured ethnic origins in 1980 and is among the fastest growing Arab populations in the country. According to the census, the statewide Arab American population is 116,240 individuals. However, the Arab American Institute estimates about 257,868 Arab Americans live in New Jersey. That is a gross undercount of our community's population. And this is why, in addition to endorsing the Fair District map, we have submitted our own community of interest map. Our community of interest is diverse in geography and primarily lives in Passaic, Hudson, Bergen, Essex, Middlesex, and Monmouth counties. We thank the Commission for taking it into account in the map making process, and we urge you to consider the map that the Fair District Committee is presenting. In our map, we point to the cities and important landmarks like mosques, churches, business, community organizations, and schools with high populations of Arab Americans. It is very important that our community of interest is recognized and is mapped together when possible so that we can continue building political power and elect candidates of our choices to address our specific community needs. So thank you very much for your time and attention to this very important matter.
Henel, Philip, anyone else from your group?
No, we're good. Thank you so much for the time. We appreciate, we know it took a little while, so we really appreciate you.
So I'm going to take a little bit of liberty here and say on behalf of all 11 of us on this commission, to Philip, Henel, Christian, Amy, Rania, and your entire group at Fair Districts, like, very nicely done. You guys clearly put a lot of effort into this. You guys took your time. You met with various stakeholders. You outlined a lot of the rationale behind why you drew what you drew. Excuse me. And I think it's safe to say on behalf of all of us, we really, truly appreciate the effort that you folks have put into this process and your thoughts and your comments and your insights. I know we were all going to take this back between the pamphlet you guys sent yesterday and this stuff, and really put it to good use. So on behalf of all of us, I just want to say thank you to you guys and the hard work that all of you put in. It is certainly recognized and absolutely appreciated by all of us. With that, Co-Chair Jones, Judge Karshman, would you have anything?
I just would echo your thoughts, Chairman Barles, and I thank all of the participants today, but especially the presentation of this map. It gives us food for thought. we do appreciate the effort that went into it, as Chairman Barlis said, and certainly we will take into account what has been presented to us today. So thank you.